CEO's heartwarming crisis exposed. One unexpected voice transforms panic into amazing clarity. Amber Hastings stood at the window of her penthouse, looking down at the bustling streets of Kansas City. Her heart raced fiercely as the weight of her company's struggles engulfed her. Once hailed as a tech visionary, her empire teetered on the brink of collapse. Employees whispered of layoffs while investors pulsed with anxiety. Amber felt their panic echo in her chest, as real as the cool glass beneath her fingers. In this apparent realm of success, loneliness loomed, turning her world into a pulsing mass of fear and despair. The boardroom was suffocating with tension. Amber could almost hear the murmurs of uncertainty, the weight of lives dependent on her decisions pressing down on her. Yet, in the midst of all this chaos, a lifeline emerged: a community support meeting where she first laid eyes on Tom, a weathered veteran who seemed out of place among the polished executives. As he spoke about losing his small business in the last recession, his voice bore an authenticity that washed over Amber like a wave. His pain, raw and palpable, resonated within her. She could see his struggles echoed in the faces of her employees' fear, uncertainty, those deep-seated worries clawing at them. A breath caught in her throat. Here's a man who has faced loss, and yet stands tall, she thought. How can I complain? Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Tom didn't just recount his losses, he spoke of a community rallying together, families drawing strength from one another, and the powerful connections forged in the face of adversity. Each word struck a chord within Amber. The glamour of her penthouse contrasted starkly with the struggles outside her windows. Inspired by him, their unlikely friendship blossomed, urging Amber to redefine her vision for her tech company and for herself. With newfound determination, Amber brainstormed a radical plan centered on community rather than profits. But when the proposal hit the boardroom, the backlash was swift and brutal. Her colleagues eyed her like she'd lost her mind. The board meeting turned into a battlefield. "You're risking everything," she could hear them shout. Panic surged, her reputation crumbling. She had hoped to lead with compassion, but the reality was harsh. Beneath the stress, guilt smoldered. Amber had built her fortress, but the walls felt more like a prison. The thought of stepping aside and nominating Tom as interim CEO flitted through her mind, sending tremors through her heart. Fear clawed at her resolve, but maybe, just maybe, it was time to let someone with real community insight take the wheel. The gears of her mind spun wildly. As Amber's world spiraled, she glimpsed a flicker of hope. Could they work together to rebuild not just the company but the very fabric of the community? What if vulnerability became their cornerstone? Time was slipping away, and the ticking clock echoed in her ears. Could she muster the courage to embrace this new model of leadership? Would she risk everything she had built and embrace the chaos for a chance at something truly beautiful? The stakes were high, and uncertainty loomed larger than ever, casting an anxious shadow over what lay ahead. In the days that followed, the boardroom felt like a battlefield. Each meeting left Amber feeling drained, the weight of her colleagues' disapproval heavy on her shoulders. They viewed her as a naive dreamer, someone who had lost touch with the gritty reality of the business world. Battle lines were drawn, their faces hardened with skepticism as she spoke of sustainable growth tied to community engagement. But at night, she sought solace in the stars, their distant twinkles giving her a feeling of connection. Above the noise of her chaotic life, Amber wrestled with her thoughts. Could she really let Tom step into the leadership role? She saw the wisdom in relying on someone who understood the soul of the people. But each time she imagined making that bold move, fear stabbed at her heart. Tom, with his easy smile and genuine laughter, kept rising in her mind. He was the embodiment of resilience, and each interaction between them reinforced a growing bond rooted in shared struggles. She was drawn to his vision for not just her company, but for their community, a vision that braved transparency and shared success. One evening, Amber found herself pacing her living room, the echo of her footsteps harmonizing with her racing thoughts. She picked up her phone and dialed Tom's number. When he answered, his voice felt like a warm embrace. "Hey, Amber. Everything all right?" he asked, the sincerity evident. "I need your help," she admitted. "I don't think I can carry this alone anymore." "Tell me what you're thinking," he replied, unwavering. Amber hesitated, then poured out her fears: the looming layoffs, the board's ridicule, her vision of a collaborative approach that seemed impossible. Tom listened intently, his silence a comforting backdrop as she bared her soul. "Amber, change doesn't come from safety," he said finally. "It comes from courage and a willingness to adapt. If you believe in community, then let us build a roadmap with everyone's voice included." They spent hours discussing potential initiatives, community programs that not only turned a profit but invested in the lives of their employees and customers alike. The more they talked, the clearer the vision became. Each idea took on a life of its own, and excitement began to build, filling Amber with an energy she had nearly forgotten. Finally, as they wrapped up, Tom suggested a meeting with the board. "Let us get everyone involved. If we show them we can do this together, it'll be harder for them to push back." Her heart fluttered at the thought. "You're right, but it won't be easy." "Nothing worth having ever is," he replied. With a newfound resolve, Amber agreed to lead the charge, not alone but hand in hand with Tom. They would make their case together, combining his grassroots wisdom with her knowledge of the corporate world. As the days turned into a plan, Amber found herself waking up each morning with a sense of purpose. Her earlier dread transformed into anticipation. She began reaching out to employees, gathering input, creating a pulse of their community that she could weave into her proposal. But when the day finally arrived for their presentation, Amber's heart skipped a beat, doubt creeping back in. What if this flopped? What if she lost everything? With every face in the boardroom facing her, she realized there would be no turning back now. Determined, she took a deep breath and stepped into the room, Tom beside her. Their eyes met, and she felt a surge of courage swell within her, giving her strength to move forward. As she opened her mouth to speak, the tension in the air thickened. Could she convey the vision that had ignited her heart? Would the power of community resound with those who wielded the stakes of her future? Tom squeezed her hand under the table, grounding her. What happened next would change everything. Why had she ever doubted? Amber stood at the head of the boardroom table, feeling the weight of the moment pressing down on her. She had rehearsed 100 times, but now the words felt elusive, tinged with doubt. The usual suspects were their hardened faces of skeptics ready to pounce at any hint of weakness. Tom's reassuring presence anchored her. She glanced at him again, his unwavering gaze encouraging her to tap into the passion that had fueled this journey. Taking a deep breath, she began. "Thank you all for coming," she started, her voice steadying with each word. "Today, we're not just discussing numbers or strategies. We're talking about lives, our employees, their families, and our community. We're here to embrace a new direction that values collaboration over competition." The silence was palpable. She could see the board members exchanging skeptical glances, but Amber pressed on. "We can grow our business while making a real difference in the community. It's about sustainable profit and creating a legacy." With each sentence, she felt her confidence building, fueled by the shared optimism between her and Tom. She outlined their proposal, speaking passionately about new initiatives that would connect the employees to the community programs that could uplift rather than undermine. Then came the moment that caught her by surprise. A voice from the back of the room cut through the tension. It was Dawson, the CFO, known for his hard-edged criticism and focused solely on profit margins. Amber's heart raced. She hadn't expected support from him. "Amber," he began, hesitating slightly, "this all sounds different. But, I've been listening. You talk about building a community, what about profit? What about the numbers? Amber's stomach tightened, but she held her ground. Dawson, we cannot ignore that we're part of something bigger. Our company's success is tied to the health of our community. When they thrive, we thrive. Building programs that support our employees can enhance retention, boost morale, and ultimately drive profits. Suddenly, a light flickered in Dawson's eyes in that moment of realization. You might be onto something there, Amber. It's not just about the quarter's earnings, it's about a sustainable future. Encouraged by his shift, Tom jumped in. And we want to implement this together, involve everyone. The more employees feel invested in our success, the more they'll work to ensure it. Amber sensed the room shifting. Murmurs rippled through the crowd, from skeptical nods to thoughtful looks. Hope began crowning in her chest. Was it possible? Just then, Helen, the head of HR, chimed in. I've seen countless programs fail because they disregard the employee's voice. Amber, if you can ensure that their input is essential, I believe we could establish a culture of engagement like never before. The tide had turned. The once distant boardroom felt like a melting pot of ideas coming together, a shared understanding sparking in the air. Amber couldn't help but smile, the knot in her stomach unraveling. As she glanced at Tom, who smiled back with the warmth that had become her anchor, she realized the synergy they were creating. It felt electric, the hope, the courage to dream bigger. But just as she began to feel that shift take hold, one last voice rose, slicing through her optimism. It was Eric, the board chair, with a steely look that sent a chill through her veins. We can't forget our obligation to shareholders. This might sound good, but how can we quantify success in community engagement? Amber's heart sank, the familiar grip of doubt clawing back into her mind. She opened her mouth, trying to gather her thoughts, but the pressure felt immense. Tom squeezed her hand again, grounding her. Would she be able to address Eric's concerns? Could she mold their vision into something tangible? The room held its breath, and all eyes turned toward her. With every second, the stakes felt higher. Would this truly be the moment they turned a corner, or would the doubt defeat them? Amber drew a deep breath, ready to respond. But would it be enough to sway Eric? As she opened her mouth to speak again, the world outside seemed to fade, the weight of possibility resting solely on her shoulders. Would they follow her vision, or would fear guide them back to safety? Amber felt the hesitation hang in the air like thick fog, choking the optimism she had fought so hard to cultivate. She could feel the heat radiating from Eric's penetrating gaze, and with each passing second, her heart raced with the urgency of the moment. Eric, she said, her voice steady, working to assemble her thoughts into something coherent. We quantify success in community engagement by examining our employees' productivity, satisfaction scores, and retention rates. If we share responsibility for our community's welfare, our employees will become more loyal. Happier people are more motivated. It's not just about profits for today but for building a sustainable future. The words spilled from her lips, and Amber could hear the shift in the room. A few heads nodded in agreement, and she could see doubt starting to dissipate from their faces. The tension was palpable, but beneath it lay a flicker of possibility. Seeing the skepticism still lurking in Eric's expression, Amber decided to lay it bare. I know it's a risk. But isn't that what leadership is about? Taking bold steps into the unknown? This isn't just a shift in strategy, it's a chance to redefine who we are. And what kind of legacy we want to leave. At the mention of legacy, a soft murmur traveled around the room, and for the first time, she sensed a change in Eric too. He seemed to shift in his chair, just slightly, as if the weight of her words was pressing down on him, too. The silence met her bold claim with an audible intake of breath, each person in the room weighing the implications of her challenge. Amber watched as Helen exchanged a glance with Dawson, who now appeared lost in thought. She might be onto something real. In business, we dream of creating brands that people trust. What if our brand stood for uplifting those around us? Let us start with our own people. By supporting their families, we empower them. That's a value that resonates beyond numbers on a spreadsheet. Tom smiled at her from across the table, his affirmation giving her courage, reminding her she wasn't alone in this fight. Suddenly, a soft voice piped up from the far end of the table. It was Sarah, the youngest member of the board, known more for her marketing insights than financial strategies. Amber, I think you're right. We often talk about company culture, but how often do we apply it? If our employees don't feel connected to our mission, how can they help us achieve it? This is a chance to change that. Encouraged by her support, 2 others joined in, sharing their own visions of how they could implement Amber's plan. Ideas flowed: community service programs, partnerships with local schools, talent development workshops. Each suggestion breathed further life into the changing atmosphere within the boardroom, yet, even with this positive shift, Amber couldn't shake Eric's skepticism. But, he interrupted, his brows knitting together, how do we launch this without jeopardizing our financial forecasts? We can't gamble the futures of our shareholders on good intentions. Amber felt her heart sink. How could she convince him? She needed to anchor her argument in hard numbers alongside her vision. Eric, imagine if we could build a program, perhaps a pilot initiative, to track engagement and employee productivity over the next quarter. We can measure success and share those insights with shareholders. It might change everything. For a brief moment, the expression on Eric's face softened, revealing curiosity intermingled with doubt. Let us prove to them that corporate social responsibility isn't just the right thing to do, it's a sound business model, she continued, her voice gaining traction. What if we could showcase hard data that illustrates how investing in our employees and community can bring more profit? As the depth of her suggestion settled in, she could feel the room vibrate with a renewed fervor. It was as if they were standing on the edge of transformation, a thrilling sense of unity beginning to rise. But just as hope began to streak its way into Amber's heart, Eric leaned back, his brow furrowing as he weighed her proposal. And if this fails? What if this was more than a pitch? What if it was the defining moment of her career? Amber swallowed hard, the stakes rising higher. Could she deliver the proof they needed, or would it slip through her fingers like sand? With newfound resolve, she answered, then we'll pivot again. But I believe in this. And I believe in us. For a moment, uncertainty hung in the air, but their eyes held on to something stronger: possibility. Would they dare to believe alongside her? As she awaited their verdict, the tension returned, bold and unyielding. Would they step into the light of change or retreat into the shadows of complacency? The silence enveloped the room like a thick blanket. Amber's heart raced louder than ever, each thump echoing in her ears. She locked eyes with Eric, searching for a flicker of acceptance, a sign that he could embrace change as fervently as she did. The weight of his skepticism nearly crushed her resolve. Finally, Helen broke the silence. What if we approach this differently? Maybe a smaller pilot program in just a few departments to start, see how it unfolds? If it works, we can expand without compromising the whole ship. Her voice was steady, yet filled with a spark of hope. Exactly, Amber jumped in, invigorated by Helen's suggestion. We can learn and adapt without risking everything at once. We could even frame it as an experiment. Nobody likes to gamble on vague ideas, but a controlled trial makes it more appealing. Across the table, Dawson chimed in, I like it. It gives us room for errors while still chasing the bigger vision. Test the waters, make adjustments, and when we're ready, we can present it to the shareholders as a proven concept. It's a practical way to move forward. His encouragement warmed her heart, stirring the flames of possibility within her. Eric's brow furrowed deeper, the gears in his mind visibly turning. But, what if we invest time and resources, and it still doesn't pan out? I can't ignore the cold reality of our bottom line. Amber leaned forward, harnessing the energy in the room. Isn't that the essence of innovation, Eric? Every great success had its share of failures. It's about progress, not perfection. This initiative could be the spark that ignites a company-wide cultural shift. The corners of Eric's mouth twitched, like the slightest hint of a grin contemplating rebellion. And if it completely sinks? Amber felt the urgency crawling back in her chest, but she steadied herself. We'll take the lessons and adapt. We'll revisit our goals. If we don't try, we can't know what's possible. And just think, if we succeed, we'll be leading the way in how a company supports its community. Imagine the headlines. Innovative firm redefines corporate responsibility. Surely the investors would eat that up, Sarah said with enthusiasm, her youthful energy blooming in stark contrast to Eric's tension. And we would stand out in the market, being the first to truly elevate employee welfare and community well-being. Eric's expression was still contemplative, but he no longer looked like a wall refusing to move. The air buzzed with excitement as the wheels of collaboration turned. Others began interjecting with their ideas for approaches to pilot this initiative: a neighborhood cleanup, company-sponsored volunteering days, or mentorship programs with local youth. The room buzzed with a camaraderie that brought a smile to Amber's face, yet, beneath the surface of enthusiasm, a nagging voice whispered doubt. What if she was overestimating their enthusiasm? Was their moment of unity just a temporary spark that would fizzle out once they faced the reality of implementation? Her heart raced, the urgency shifting gears in her chest again. Let's take a vote, suggested Tom, sensing the growing support. A simple yes or no on moving forward with this pilot. I believe in Amber's vision. One by one, heads began nodding in agreement. Each affirmation felt like a lifeline, a promise of support that solidified Amber's resolve. Eric, however, stayed quiet, his gaze moving from face to face, as if searching for something he hadn't found yet. Finally, he sighed, the weight of decision hanging heavy in his expression. Fine. We'll proceed with this pilot. But if we're going to do it, we have to be ready to commit. No half measures. Relief washed over Amber, warmth flooding her being. She had won a critical battle, but she knew the war was far from over. As plans began to unfold with newfound excitement around the table, Amber felt a spark ignite within her. She had to ensure every detail was executed perfectly. But then, she caught Eric's eye again, a deeper layer of concern etched into his features. What doubts still lingered there? And what challenges lay ahead in navigating the turbulent waters of change? With her heart pounding and anticipation hanging thick in the air, she knew this was just the beginning. In the shadows of uncertainty, another battle awaited her. Would loyalty to their vision sustain this newfound hope, or would the tides turn once again? As the meeting concluded, the air buzzed with a mix of excitement and apprehension. Amber watched as her colleagues filtered out, their conversations filled with optimism. Yet, beneath the facade of enthusiasm, an uncomfortable knot twisted in her stomach. Eric had agreed to the pilot, but something was still off. Can we talk? Eric's voice, low and steady, cut through the chatter of departing employees. It felt more like a command than a question. He motioned to the small balcony outside, and Amber followed him, her heart racing once more. The cool evening air brushed against her skin, a stark contrast to the warmth of the conference room. City lights glimmered below, each a reminder of the vast challenges ahead. Eric leaned against the railing, staring out into the horizon, lost in thought. What's really bothering you? Amber asked, her voice soft, trying to bridge the gap left by their earlier confrontation. He turned to her, his eyes filled with unspoken words. I've seen ideas like yours fizzle out before. They sound great on paper, but implementation, that's where it gets tricky. People might jump on the bandwagon for now, but when things get hard they won't. Amber interrupted, determination rising within her. This matters to them. To me. We're not just throwing out ideas for the sake of it. We're creating a legacy here. He sighed, shaking his head slowly. It's not that simple, Amber. What you're suggesting, this is a drastic shift in culture. Not everyone will embrace it. There are departments that thrive on the status quo. Some could see this as a threat. Instead of support, we might see sabotage. Her heart sank. She had thought they were ready to embrace change. Doubts she thought had been buried now re-emerged like ghosts in the night. So what? We just don't try because it might be hard? She took a step closer to him. It's exactly that mindset that holds us back. He turned to face her fully, frustration creeping into his tone. No, it's about being realistic. I'm trying to protect you, Amber. Protect this company from a reckless leap that could put everything we've built at risk. What if we miss out on something incredible because of fear? She shot back, emotions boiling beneath the surface. What if this is the moment where everything changes for the better? Silence wrapped around them again, thick and heavy. The bustling world below felt worlds away. Amber's heart latched onto the hope that had fueled her every word. She couldn't let doubt poison the drive that had brought them this far. If fear is your only reason for holding back, then I don't accept it. She straightened, a spark of resolve igniting in her chest. We owe it to ourselves, to everyone, to at least try. Eric studied her, the shadows on his face shifting with the soft evening light. Finally, he released a breath he hadn't known he was holding. I can't guarantee success, but I'll back you up. Just know, if it fails, I want to let you take the fall for it. Amber felt a rush of gratitude wash over her. Thank you, Eric. That means more than you know. As they stood together, shoulders brushing in the cool air, Amber wondered if they could truly navigate the storm ahead. The fight for their vision was just beginning, and she felt ready to face whatever came next. But what if the challenges they faced were deeper than they anticipated? What if the very people they counted on to support the initiative were the same ones who would undermine it? The night whispered uncertainty, and just as it seemed they might find common ground, a new, unexpected obstacle loomed on the horizon. Would they stand strong together, or would the tides of change pull them apart? Amber and Eric returned to the conference room, the atmosphere thick with unvoiced fears. Colleagues stood in clusters, animated discussion sparking the room with fleeting hope. For a moment, Amber felt elated. They had a plan. She and Eric were on the same page, or so she thought. But as she glimpsed familiar faces, she noticed the uncertainty lingering in their eyes. Mark from finance, arms crossed defensively. Sarah from HR, her gaze darting away whenever Amber approached. The fabric of their unity began to fray, and doubt crept back in, whispering that maybe Eric was right. She took a deep breath and decided it was time to take control. Amber stepped forward, clearing her throat to garner attention as her colleagues drifted together. I know you all have questions, she said, her voice steady despite her racing heart. We're talking about real changes here, and that's scary. But that fear can be transformed into something powerful. A few heads nodded, but she could see skepticism on others' faces. This project isn't just about new systems. It's about creating a culture where everyone feels valued. What if it backfires? A voice piped up from the back. It was Julia, her eyes wide, tinged with concern. What if we end up losing clients because we can't adjust quickly enough? Amber felt her chest tighten. That's a valid concern, Julia. But think of it this way, every great change in history encountered pushback. The only way we can stifle those worries is to work through them together. The walls felt like they were closing in as beads of sweat formed on her brow. If we approach this as one team, we can solve problems before they arise. We need each other's insights. Your experiences will help guide us. Eric stood quietly, observing as Amber spoke. She caught a glimpse of his expression, a mix of admiration and apprehension. Did he understand her vision, or was he still stuck in his worry zone? None of us has all the answers. But we can forge a path based on trust, collaboration, and transparency, she continued, her tone firm and uplifting. If we commit to every step of this pilot together, we can create something that matters. The murmurs in the room began to soften, energy sparking around them. Yeah, what do we have to lose? Mark chimed in, slowly unfolding his arms. Others started nodding, sharing hesitant smiles, as a stronger sense of camaraderie slowly formed. Just then, the door creaked open, and to everyone's surprise, Lars, the notoriously aloof head of IT, stepped inside. "I want in," he said, his voice gruff, but a light in his eyes spoke differently. "If we're changing how we interact as a team, count on my support." Gasps of surprise echoed through the room. Lars was known for shooting down ideas before they even got going. But this was a monumental shift. Amber's heart swelled with hope. If Lars could see the potential, maybe others would too, yet, Eric's expression troubled her. He pushed away from the wall, eyes narrowed with concern. "Let us not rush into things," he said, a warning lacing his words. "This is our moment to shine, yes, but also our moment to be delicate." The insidious knot of tension tightened again as Amber faced Eric. Was he being pragmatic or pessimistic? They had just made progress. Could this looming shadow of caution quench their newfound spirit? "Do you want to lead this project, Eric?" she asked, defiance mingling with uncertainty. The room quieted once more, air thick with anticipation. Eric's gaze shifted to the group, and something shifted in his posture. "I'll do it, but we proceed cautiously, together." As the team nodded, a wave of relief washed over Amber. But just as they seemed to find their footing, a loud crash from the hallway startled everyone. They all turned, eyes wide, as a frantic employee rushed in, panting and wild-eyed. "We've got a problem." Amber's heart dropped. What now? Would this derail everything they had just built? She looked at Eric, whose anxious expression mirrored her own fears. Would they be able to handle yet another challenge? Would this be the moment everything spiraled out of control? Amber's mind raced. Behind the door, chaos brewed, and she felt the energy shift once more. The room was thick with anticipation, emotions firing like an electric current. She took a step forward, her voice steady but urgent. "What is going on?" The employee, Jason, leaned against the door frame, chest heaving, eyes wide with panic. "The client data, it's gone. We can't access it. It's all messed up." A collective gasp echoed through the room. Fear snaked through the gathered team, and Amber felt the weight of responsibility pressing down on her. "We need to fix this," she asserted, keeping her tone calm despite a storm brewing inside. "Lars, can you gather your team? Find out what happened?" Lars nodded, determination replacing the surprise on his face. "I'll get right on it." Amber turned to Eric, whose brow furrowed deeper, worry creeping back into his expression. "We have to stabilize the situation," he said, urgency shifting through his voice. "Let us talk strategies before panic takes over." Amber knew he was right, but she also sensed the dread in the air. "All right, let us sit together and brainstorm a solution," she encouraged, rallying everyone to focus. "We've built trust in just a short time. Let us use it to tackle this." Eyes turned to her, some still laced with apprehension, and she felt the enormity of the moment. They weren't ready for failure. They couldn't lose what they had just begun. "Julia, can you coordinate with the client?" Amber said, glancing at her expectantly. "Let them know we're on it and we'll keep communication open." Julia nodded slowly, a glimmer of newfound resolve in her eyes. "I'll handle it." "Good. And I'll assist Lars with the technical side," Eric offered, his posture straightening. The tension softened just a bit. Amber felt a flicker of pride. They were beginning to work together, like pieces of a puzzle seamlessly clicking into place. But the fear of the unknown loomed. "This is just the first hurdle," she reminded them, her voice steady and clear. "We have to trust each other. We have to work together." The air buzzed with focus and determination. Colleagues exchanged glances, nodding as the adrenaline began to drown out the fear. Suddenly, Lars returned with a surge of urgency. "It's worse than we thought." Gasps filled the air again. "I ran diagnostics. An external breach. They're trying to steal our data." The room fell silent. Eyes widened, hearts raced. This wasn't just a technical glitch, this was a battle. Amber stepped forward, her voice rising above the whispers. "We won't let this stop us. We will protect what's ours. We'll safeguard our clients, our company, each other. Who's with me?" A rumble of agreement followed, the earlier fears replaced by a collective resolve. Eric's eyes met hers, and she could see the fire igniting in him. "We'll be stronger together," he said, nodding. As the plan started to crystallize, Jason raised a hand, breaking the focus momentarily. "What if it's a distraction? What if they're trying to throw us off our game?" That thought hung heavy in the air, the tension palpable. If they were being targeted, what else was out there waiting to strike? Amber felt a chill pass through her. "Then we need to stay 2 steps ahead," she replied, taking a deep breath. "We can't let fear drive our actions. We have to think strategically." She sensed a shift in the room. Hope flickered alongside a determination that felt contagious, but beneath it all, Amber couldn't shake the feeling of something more looming, something that could unravel all their efforts. As they forged their plan, she caught a glimpse of Eric's troubled expression. It was clear he hadn't disclosed everything, that he was still holding onto some weighty thoughts. What hadn't he shared? And could their unity withstand the trials awaiting them? Amber's heart raced as she pondered the growing storm on the horizon. Would they be able to navigate the uncertainty, or were they just running toward a greater challenge? The moment of truth was fast approaching. Amber felt the pulse of the team, a hum of uncertainty mingling with newfound resolve. The room buzzed as ideas began to swirl, each voice layering on top of the other. But one thought hung heavy, pushing her to act. She needed clarity now. "Listen up," she called out, cutting through the chaos. Everyone paused to look at her, anticipation etched on their faces. "We need everybody in this. If we're going to weather this storm, we have to be honest. And that includes you, Eric. What is going on in your head?" Eric hesitated, the flicker of hesitation flashing in his gaze, but he squared his shoulders. "I've seen breaches before, some are just noise, but others can tear through everything. I can't shake the feeling this is bigger than just a technical disruption. I've got contacts that can help us," but he paused, weighing his words. "It might put our whole operation at risk." The weight of his admission sunk into the room. Amber understood then that they were sitting on a precipice, teetering between the safety of the known and the danger of the unknown. "We can't face this alone. If there's danger, we'll face it as a team," she said with conviction. "What do you need from us?" Eric met her gaze, the worry in his eyes softening as he saw the support of the team behind her. "I need to reach out to Mike, the cybersecurity expert. He has the tools to track this breach. It'll be messy, and I can't predict where it leads." "Then let us get Mike on the line," Amber said, nodding firmly. "We need every resource available." "And Julia, have you connected with the client yet?" Julia had been listening intently, her expression both serious and determined. "I sent them a message. They're concerned but are willing to wait as long as we keep them in the loop. They trust us, Amber." "That's great," Amber replied, relief washing over her. "Trust is everything right now. We have a strong foundation." As the team rallied with new vigor, Amber felt the tide of fear turning. They were no longer just reacting, they were proactively building defense mechanisms. Suddenly, a loud ping resonated from Jason's computer. He turned to them with wide eyes. "We've got incoming alerts. I think they're trying to breach our firewall." Close it down. Amber shouted, adrenaline spiking through her. Eric, can we reinforce it while we're on the call with Mike? Let me do that, Lars jumped in, already pulling up instructions on his screen, his fingers flying across the keyboard. Time seemed to warp as they strategized. Each second felt like a lifetime, yet moves were being made. Amber focused on the energy in the room, the unity of the group fighting against a shared threat. With each heartbeat, a drive filled her, a sense that they weren't just protecting a company but building a family. Eric's phone rang, and with shaky hands, he answered. Mike? We need you now. It's happening. We've got to move fast, or we're in serious trouble. Amber watched him, the color draining from his face as he listened. She couldn't hear Mike's side of the conversation, but the shifting expressions on Eric's face spoke volumes. Okay, we'll be ready. Just hurry. As he hung up, the strained silence broke. He's coming. But we have to prepare the systems for an intense defense. It's going to get messy, he warned, but there was an undeniable fire in his eyes now. Then let us do this. Amber declared, her spirit lifting. We'll show them we're ready. We will fight for what we've built. But as fear fueled their preparations, a troubling thought flickered in the back of Amber's mind. Who were they really up against? And what was their true motive? Amber glanced at Eric, worry creeping back in. Had she truly read this situation right? Just then, a loud crash reverberated from the back of the office, leading them all to freeze. Every heart stopped for a moment in a collective shudder of dread. What now? Was this the moment they had all braced for, or was it just the tip of something much worse? Amber's heart raced, the crash reverberating in her chest. She turned, dread twisting in her stomach. What was that? The words barely broke through her clipped breath. Her colleagues looked at her, wide-eyed, uncertainty spreading like wildfire. It sounded like it came from the server room, Jason said, urgency in his voice. Lars. Eric. Amber shouted, every instinct screaming to protect what they had built. Let us check it out, now. As they rushed toward the commotion, the atmosphere shifted, it felt thick with fear and determination. Each footfall echoed their resolve, the collective heartbeat of their team pounding with purpose. When they reached the server room, the door hung ajar, and a low hum of panic surrounded them. Inside, the blinking lights of the servers seemed frantic, warning them of a chaos born from the breach. What's happening? Amber demanded, spotting Lars bent over the console, fingers flying across the keyboard. It's bad, he replied, breathless. They're trying to penetrate the core systems. I can't shut it down without risking everything. The enormity of it all pressed down on her. What do we need to do? How can we fix it? She could see the sweat on their faces, but amidst the panic, a flicker of determination glinted in her eyes. Together, Lars replied, meeting her gaze, a silent understanding passed between them. We have to isolate the system while Mike works on the outside interference. Do it. Eric said, his voice steady with conviction, transforming the panic in the room into clarity. We'll support you from here. Everyone, tighten up security protocols and make sure we know where our sensitive data is stored. As Amber watched them spring into action, a sense of hope ignited within her. They were a team, all hands on deck, fighting together against an invisible foe. For a moment, the chaos transformed into a synchronized dance, each movement purposeful, quick, full of grit. Mike just texted, Eric interjected, keeping them informed. He's on his way with specialized software. We need to hold the line until then. Amber felt the weight of everyone's eyes on her, and she stood a little taller. Listen up, she said, her voice ringing with certainty. We've come too far to let fear win now. Let us fight back. If we protect our values, we protect our company. We do this together. We can't let them see us shaken, Julia chimed in, her determination rising. We need to keep communication working with the client. If we stay transparent with them, we'll keep their trust, and it will strengthen us. A distraction. Came a voice from the back. It was Mark. What if we orchestrate a media statement confirming the integrity of our network while we're working on this? It'll ensure our clients know we're on it. Yes. Amber exclaimed. The tide was turning in their direction, unity blossoming among them like a protective shield. Just as they were gaining momentum, the server burped an alarming beep, and Lars cursed under his breath. It's trying to breach again. I can't hold it. Then we need to back it up. Now. Amber shouted, adrenaline surging through her veins. I'll grab the backup drives. Eric. Stay on the line with Mike. We need him to talk us through this. As Amber dashed down the corridor, the sounds of her pounding footsteps echoed against the walls, every beat guiding her through the storm. She was already imagining every detail of this fight, the partnership, the resilience, the bond they had formed in such a short time. This could be the defining moment for them all. Amber. Eric's voice rang through her thoughts. We only have minutes. Don't let this slip away. She gripped the backup drives, her heart pounding in sync with the frantic buzz of the servers in the background. With every stride back toward the server room, she felt lighter. They were doing this together, and that thought propelled her forward with unwavering conviction. Inside the server room, Lars worked feverishly, managing chaos with a calm she had come to admire. The moment she returned, she slid the drives into place. Start the backup. I've got this. She urged. As the drives whirred to life, the air around them shifted. What felt like an impending doom transformed into a fierce unity that had once felt naive to hope for their struggles were drawing them closer, each person channeling their fears into collective strength. Lars' fingers danced across the keyboard, adrenaline surging within his movements. Come on, his voice was a mix of frustration and focus. Suddenly, the room erupted with renewed energy as Mike arrived, tools in hand. Let's kick some cyber butt. He proclaimed, a confident grin flashing on his face. They had reinforcements in minutes. Mike worked intensively with Lars, the pair huddling over the console, exchanging thoughts, and piecing together a digital fortress with every second that ticked by. Keep it steady. Amber rallied them. We're almost there. As they continued their efforts, the attention shifted, and clarity filled the room. They had made strides to protect themselves, to shield each other from whatever threat threatened to take down everything they had built. With each pulse of action, Amber felt the energy harnessing in a powerful rush. Together. She shouted, the word echoing with fierce determination. Minutes turned into an eternity before Mike finally coded the last barrier, triumph etched on his face. We did it. The system is secure. They've been blocked. Cheers erupted around the room, relief pouring over them like rain after a storm. Amber found her eyes meeting Eric's. They shared a moment of acknowledgement that transcended their previous arguments, the fight drawing them closer together than they had ever anticipated. There, in the heart of chaos, they had forged a bond that had become unbreakable. As they emerged together from the server room, it was clear the fight was not just about numbers and strategies, it was about the people standing beside them. Each challenge had transformed them, turning doubt into resilience and fear into unwavering courage, and as Amber gazed out over the cityscape from the window of her penthouse, the lights twinkled with potential. They had not only survived, they had triumphed. This wasn't the end, it was a new beginning. With every heartbeat, they would continue to redefine what success really meant together as a family, woven into the very fabric of the community. As the night unfolded, Amber felt a renewed sense of purpose. She knew the journey ahead would be challenging, but now, it felt radiant with possibility. To every person who struggled, to every doubt they had overcome, she whispered her gratitude. And standing beside her was a reminder of what truly mattered: connection, trust, and an unbreakable spirit they had forged through adversity. Now, if you felt moved by this story and want to be part of this journey, you need to subscribe now. This is the moment to show your support and not miss out on any more exclusive transformations. Hit that like button right now to feed the algorithm and keep our community growing. Comment below and share your reactions to this ending. How did it make you feel? More importantly, share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who truly need to hear this message of hope and resilience. Don't wait not even one more second to share. Let's uplift each other and keep this incredible movement going.